Quiet on the floor, please. Quiet on the floor, please. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please place all electronic devices to vibrate. All electronic devices to vibrate. Mr. Majority Leader.
Good afternoon and welcome to the stated meeting of January 29, 2026. I am Majority Leader Sean Abreu, and I'd like to thank you for joining us. If you'd like to please follow along, the agenda for today's meeting is posted on our website.
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Aldebol.
Here.
Ariola.
Sono qui.
Aviles.
Presente.
Banks.
Here.
Botcher.
Present.
Brewer.
Here.
Brooks Powers.
Present.
Caban. De La Rosa.
Here.
Dinowitz.
Here.
Encarnacion.
Presente.
Epstein.
Aquí.
Farias.
Present.
Felder.
Here.
Felice.
Here.
Gennaro. Gutierrez.
Presente.
Hey, I just got a text that I was called for attendance, but I don't hear anything.
Councilmember
I
Caban.
text Simone too, but I can't hear anything.
Quiet in the chambers, please.
Hanif.
Here.
Hankerson.
Here.
Hanks.
Present.
Hudson.
Present.
Joseph.
Here.
Krishnan.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Lewis.
Present.
Maloney.
Here.
Marte.
Here.
Mealy.
Present.
Morano.
Here.
Narcisse.
Present.
Nurse. Osei.
I'm here.
Palladino.
I'm here too.
Wrestler.
Here.
Riley.
Present.
Salam.
Present.
Justin Sanchez.
Seated.
Pierina Sanchez.
Here.
Santos Suoso.
Here.
Schulman.
Here.
Stevens.
Present.
Thomas Henry.
Present.
Ung.
Present.
Vernikoff. Williams.
Present.
One.
Present.
Wang.
Present.
Zhuang.
Here.
Caban.
Present.
Carr.
Present.
Abreu.
Present.
Speaker Menon.
Present.
Thank you. We will now have today's invocation, which will be delivered by the legendary Cardinal Timothy Dolan, Archbishop of New York of St. Patrick's Cathedral, which is located on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan.
Let us pray. God is for us a refuge and strength, a helper close at hand in time of distress. So we shall not fear, though the earth might rock, though the mountains fall into the depths of the sea, even though its waters rage and foam, even though the mountains be shaken. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold. The waters of a river give joy to God's city, that holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within here. That city cannot be shaken. God will help it at the dawning of the day. Nations are in tumult, kingdoms are shaken. The Lord lifts his voice, the earth shrinks away. Because the Lord of hosts is with us, the God of Jacob is our stronghold. Consider those works of the Lord. He puts an end to wars over all the earth. The spear he snaps, he burns the shields with fire. Be still and know that I am God, supreme among the nations, supreme on the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold, and he lives and reigns forever and ever. Amen. Amen. Thanks, Madam Speaker, for the honor of leading prayer, and thanks to all of you, distinguished leaders of this city that I've come to love over my past 17 years as Archbishop, and please be as good to my successor, who will be installed a week from tomorrow, as you have been to me. A deal? All right, thank you. God bless, all right?
Thank you. I will now ask Councilmember Joanne Ariola to spread the invocation on the record.
Thank you, Majority Leader. First, I would like to wish the Cardinal an early happy birthday, which will happen on February 6th. Happy birthday to you. Many and more happy and healthy. Cardinal Timothy Dolan served as the Archbishop of New York from 2009 to 2025 and served as the Archbishop of Milwaukee for nearly 7 years before that. He was made a cardinal by Pope Benedict XVI in 2012, and in that capacity has worked hard to spread the Catholic faith in an increasingly secularized world. Cardinal Dolan has served as a strong voice for persecuted Christians across the globe and has repeatedly advocating what he calls Christophobic terrorism, a major foreign policy priority. In his own words, when it comes to the persecution of Christians, we are talking about an international emergency, and we should never apologize for keeping the issue alive in public discourse. A major facet of religious life in New York City for almost 17 years, Cardinal Dolan has truly been New York's shepherd. Thank you again, Majority Leader, Speaker Menon. I would like to thank Cardinal Dolan for being here today, and I make a motion for unanimous consent to spread the invocation in full upon the record.
Thank you, Councilmember. We will now ask Councilmember Harvey Epstein for the adoption of minutes.
I make a motion that the minutes of the charter meeting of January 7th, 2026, and the stated meeting of January 15th, 2026 be adopted as printed.
Thank you, Councilmember. Messages and papers from the mayor.
None.
Communication from city, county, and borough offices.
None.
Petitions and communications.
None.
Land use call-ups.
None.
Thank you. We will now have communication from Speaker Julie Menon.
Thank you. And I really want to thank everyone for being on time. So really, it's great. Thank you. So before we talk about today's stated meeting, I first of all, Cardinal Dolan, want to thank you for everything you have done on behalf of our city. During times of crisis and times of pain, you have brought our city together in a true interfaith way that has affected every single one of us. And we can't thank you enough for your service and your leadership. And we're really, really going to miss you. Thanks, Cardinal. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. So before we talk about today's stated meeting, I want to start with a few brief acknowledgments. Obviously, over the last several days, we witnessed a truly historic snowstorm, the worst we've seen, honestly, in 5 years, and dangerously cold temperatures that tragically claimed the lives of 10 New Yorkers. A storm of this magnitude required a comprehensive, all-government, hands-on-deck response. I want to first thank the sanitation workers who worked around the clock, toiling away in oftentimes very dangerous conditions to keep our streets clear and clean. And I want to thank City Hall, the first responders, and all the city agencies for their hard work in keeping New Yorkers safe. I also want to briefly acknowledge events happening beyond New York City that have understandably caused concern here at home. What is unfolding in Minnesota is more than merely disturbing. It flies in the face of what government and law enforcement are entrusted to do, which is protect the public. In the past several weeks, we have seen that 2 individuals have been fatally shot, and there have been multiple reports of children being taken into custody. These actions are endangering the public, and they are eroding trust in government institutions. This is untenable, it's unsafe, and it's an unacceptable situation, and the public deserves full transparency and accountability. And while I'm not able to discuss details to protect the privacy and integrity of the ongoing process, our council employee, Raphael, who remains in ICE custody despite having all of his legal work authorization papers, is totally and wholly unacceptable. We are working around the clock for his safe return, and I will have more to say on that in the coming weeks. With that, turning to this afternoon's stated meeting, I first of all want to begin by acknowledging the rabbi in Council Member Shulman's district who was verbally and physically assaulted on Tuesday in an abhorrent anti-Semitic attack. And just last night in Councilmember Hudson's district, I know we were on the phone last night about this, a vehicle struck the entrance to 770 Chabad World Headquarters in yet another deeply disturbing incident that is under investigation by the NYPD, and we've been in close contact last night and today with the NYPD. These have become almost daily occurrences now, and it is intolerable in every way. I was in Borough Park, Brooklyn, just a few days ago, where 73 swastikas were painted on slides, on children's play equipment. It is truly horrific, and we are taking action to put an end to that. January 27th was Holocaust Remembrance Day, when we honor the memory of millions of Jewish people and other victims who were murdered during the Holocaust. I really want to say, as the daughter and granddaughter of Holocaust survivors, I would not be here today without their courage and their strength, and it is critical that we ensure that this history is shared, and I want to thank so many colleagues who went this week to the Museum of Jewish Heritage to visit the permanent Holocaust exhibition. Thank you so much for attending. On a lighter note, I want to wish a very happy birthday to Council members Shahana Hanif and Harvey Epstein, who share the same birthday, February 5th. Birthday twins. And I also want to welcome our Majority Leader's father, Juan Abreu, to the council chambers today. Juan, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you being here. And now, with that, we're going to move on to our stated agenda. So today, the New York City Council is taking action that is both rare and it's incredibly consequential. We are going to override more vetoes in one day than this city council has done in the past decade. That just, yes, that was okay. Yes. And these last-minute, late-night vetoes that we received from Mayor Eric Adams, again, stood in the way of the progress of this council in terms of worker protection, street vendor protection, so many important issues, taxi drivers, so many different issues that we were legislating. And so that is why I'm so thrilled that we are doing these overrides today. These overrides reflect legislation that's been debated thoroughly, refined carefully, and supported by a clear supermajority of elected representatives from across our city. When the council acts with that level of consensus, we have an obligation to follow through. The council will vote to advance the following bills that promote good governance and transparency, because that is what New Yorkers expect and deserve. So I'm going to read through them. Introduction 1279B, sponsored by former Deputy Speaker Diana Ayala, would limit rules issued by the Department of Sanitation prohibiting supplemental sanitation service providers from placing refuse or recycling by public litter baskets, and further requiring them to set material out for collection by DSNY in rigid receptacles with tight-fitting lids. Thank you to the staff. Morgan Barrett. Introduction 125A, also sponsored by our former Deputy Speaker, would require that in most circumstances, the NYPD must obtain the consent of a parent, legal guardian, or attorney before collecting a DNA sample from a minor. We want to thank our staff, Jeremy Whiteman, who worked on this. Introduction 1391A, also known as the Alain Etienne Safety and Security Act, sponsored by our former Speaker Adrian Adams, would direct security guard employers to provide their employees with minimum wage, paid vacation time, and supplemental benefits. This legislation was inspired by the heroic acts of Alain Etienne, a former 32BJ security guard who literally put his life on the line, closing down the elevator bank, saving lives so additional people were not harmed in that fatal shooting over the summer. Thank you to the staff, to Sarah Swain, to Natalie Meltzer, to Rachel Cordero. Introduction 479A, sponsored by Councilmember Julie Wan, would require the City Chief Procurement Officer to establish standards and procedures for contractors to determine the existence of conflicts of interest and misconduct concerning city contracts valued over $100,000. Thank you to Alex Polenoff and Alex Yablon for their work on this. Introduction 1412A, also known as the Safer Sanctuary Act, sponsored by Councilmember Tiffany Caban, would bar federal immigration authorities from maintaining offices on land under the New York City Department of Corrections jurisdiction. It would also amend the city's sanctuary city laws to account for current federal immigration enforcement practices. Thank you to Nicole Kata, Rebecca Barilla, and Nicholas Wadowski for your work on this. Introduction 1297A, sponsored by Councilmember Sylvina Brooks Powers, would create a civil cause of action for crimes of violence motivated by gender that occurred prior to January 9th, 2022. It would allow such claims against any party who committed, directed, enabled, participated, or conspired in the commission of a crime of violence motivated by gender to bring a civil claim against that party. Thank you to Jahari Frazier, Juanita John, Julia Goldsmith Pinkham, Sarah Liss, Sahar Mozami, and Samitra Deshmukh for their work on this. Introduction 1120B, sponsored by Councilmember Amanda Farias, would set timelines for decisions regarding the sale of co-op apartments. Thank you to Natasha Bynum, Sarah Townsend, Austin Malone, Billy Eck, Dirk Spencer, Jose Conde, and Brad Reed. Introduction 570B, sponsored by Councilmember Gail Brewer, would create a New York City land bank to acquire and manage vacant, abandoned, tax delinquent, and foreclosed properties with the goal of promoting the preservation of home ownership and home equity, prevention of displacement, and putting properties to productive community use. Introduction 1407A, sponsored by former Speaker Adams, would authorize the city to sell tax liens past 2028, but only to a city land bank, and add additional protections for primary resident homeowners. Introduction 149A, sponsored by Councilmember Sandy Nurse, would require the Commissioner of Finance to report annually on properties encumbered by chronically unresolved tax liens that remain unsatisfied for 36 months or more after being sold. And Introduction 1420A, also sponsored by Councilmember Nurse, would require the Commissioner of Finance to require purchasers of tax liens to make best efforts to transfer the liens to the City Land Bank upon certain triggering events. Thank you to Nick Connell and Imre Yadiv for their work on this. Introduction 1443A, also sponsored by Councilmember Nurse, would require that starting July 1st, 2027, 50% of newly constructed rental units financed by the city be affordable for very low-income households and at least 30% for extremely low-income households. And Introduction 958A, sponsored by former Speaker Adams, would approximately double the production of affordable home ownership opportunities financed by the city by requiring that at least 4% of all newly constructed affordable units be for home ownership. Thank you to Ann McConney, William Vidal, Brian Paul, Deborah Kretzner, and Caitlin Greer. Introduction 431B, sponsored by Councilmember Priana Sanchez, would expand business licensing for food and general vendors by making 2,200 additional supervisory license applications available to prospective mobile food vendors annually from 2026 until 2030, and 10,500 new general vending licenses in 2027. It would also expand street vendor training and increase inspections of street vendor setups to ensure compliance with new requirements. Introduction 1251A, sponsored by Councilmember Amanda Farias, would authorize the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene and the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection to issue license applications to mobile food and general vendors until the licenses issued reached the capped amount. And Intro 408A, sponsored by our public advocate who's here, Jamani Williams, would create a division of street vendor assistance within the Department of Small Business Services to assist street vendors. Thank you to Sarah Swain and Natalie Meltzer. Finally, Introduction 276A, sponsored by Councilmember Shekhar Krishnan, would prohibit...
Please, no clapping in the chambers, please. Use your hand gestures. Thank you.
Would prohibit high-volume, for-hire vehicle services from deactivating drivers unless due to just cause, a bona fide economic reason, or if required by law. Thank you to Ricardo Lucia and Mark Chen. Okay, that was a mouthful, but those are the overrides. It's important that I also speak about another urgent issue before the council today, and that is anti-Semitism. As I mentioned last week, 73 swastikas were graffitied across a children's playground in Borough Park. It's disgusting, it's deplorable, but unfortunately and sadly, it is not new. Jewish New Yorkers make up roughly 10% of our city's population, yet last year they were the victims of more than half of all reported hate crimes. That's a reality we cannot normalize and we cannot ignore. We also are, and I'm very happy about this new committee to combat hate, chaired by Councilmember Yusuf Salam, that I know is going to do amazing work combating all forms of hate across the city. So thank you for chairing that very, very important committee. So today we are taking action on anti-Semitism. As part of the Council's 5-point action plan to combat anti-Semitism, we're introducing the following legislation to address this crisis head-on. Introduction 731, which is sponsored by me, will require police to submit a plan to establish security perimeters at places of worship. This bill will fully protect First Amendment rights to protest. And I really want to emphasize that. We are not doing anything in the bills to penalize protests. We want to make sure that people have the right to peacefully protest. What we're trying to do is protect houses of worship and schools. Introduction 751, sponsored by Councilmember Dinowitz, will require police to submit a plan to establish security perimeters at educational facilities. Introduction 726, sponsored by Councilmember Narcisse, will build upon an existing security guard reimbursement program for non-public schools. Introduction 722, sponsored by Councilmember Maloney, will require the mayor to designate an agency or office that in consultation with NYCEM and NYPD would support all religious institutions in establishing emergency plans. Intro 796, sponsored by Councilmember Ressler, will establish a hotline for receiving reports from the public regarding incidents motivated by anti-Semitic, anti-Asian, LGBTQ, and other hate bias. And then finally, two more. Introduction 757, sponsored by Councilmember Abreu, will require the DOE to distribute age-appropriate materials to middle and high school students regarding the risks and dangers associated with social media for youth. Introduction 2066, sponsored by Councilmember Dinowitz, will require the NYPD to report on the status of all hate crime cases so that each member will get that information up to date within their district. In addition, the Jewish Caucus voted today to appoint a bipartisan task force chaired by Councilmember Dinowitz and Vernikoff to combat anti-Semitism. And lastly, on the veto overrides, I do want to mention we are going to be doing some work moving forward. Bills that we did not override, there are a number of different paths forward for them, so I look forward to working with the bill sponsors on that so that we can take the policy goals at play and try to really work them forward in a way where we can get a supermajority of support and address some legal issues. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to our Majority Leader.
Thank you, Speaker Menon. We will now move into discussion of general orders, beginning with Councilmember Brewer, followed by Pierina Sanchez.
Thank you very much. I'm talking about the land use bill for an override. That's 570B in its old rendition. As the Speaker said, this is going to be run as a land use land bank board comprised of the mayor, the finance commissioner, commissioner of HPD housing, 3 people appointed by the Speaker, and 1 person appointed by the mayor with advice and consent of the council. This land bank, and there are land banks all across the country and in our state, would be empowered under state and local law to purchase tax liens from the city to enforce that there would be policies and procedures to promote the goals of, yes, collecting outstanding revenues, and that was a concern of the previous administration. We still want to collect revenues, but we also want to preserve ownership and equity interests in homes. We want to prevent the displacement of residents from their dwellings. We want to promote proper and effective management of residences. And we want to prevent recidivism among properties with tax liens. Basically, this land bank will replace New York City's private sector-driven high bidder tax lien sales with a public-focused, non-profit approach. I want to thank Emre Edif from the Finance Division for his incredible amount of work on this bill. And I hope that this is one of the tools in the toolbox that we will be able to take tax liens that would normally go to the highest bidder, turn them into affordable housing, and it's a great tool in the toolbox for affordable housing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Pierina Sanchez, followed by Councilmember Nurse.
Thank you, Majority Leader, and thank you, Speaker Menon, for your leadership and for standing with vendors, first as the Chair of Consumer and Worker Protection and now as Speaker. 431B replaces decades of dysfunction with a system that is more just for vendors, more predictable for brick and mortar businesses, and that delivers safer, cleaner, and more orderly shared spaces for all New Yorkers. I want to be clear today, 70% of food vendors citywide and up to 90% in neighborhoods like mine are unlicensed, as are nearly 40% of general vendors. This bill is not about increasing the number of vendors on the street. It is about bringing existing vendors into regulation. Intro 431B expands access to licenses and strengthens enforcement, creates clear suspension and revocation standards that will mean something when you have a license, and establishes new responsibilities around cleanliness and illegal dumping. Thank you to the indefatigable staff members and members of the Street Vendor Project, the many brick and mortar businesses, the bodegas, supermarkets, supermercados, restaurants, who did not stop taking my calls, the agency staff who worked with us in good faith, the new mayor and his leadership who have said they're committed to good implementation of these reforms, and to all of our colleagues who will vote to override this bill today. As a daughter and granddaughter of street vendors, this historic moment is also deeply personal. We are ushering in a new era in how this city treats its smallest businesses and manages shared public space. And I know this council will fight tooth and nail to ensure every part of this law is fully and fairly implemented so that these reforms can deliver on their promise. Thank you.
Councilmember Nurse, followed by Public Advocate Jamani Williams.
Thank you, Majority Leader. It's often said that the council focuses too much on the 70% of New Yorkers who rent their homes and not enough on the 30% who own. While I'm proud to be pushing for stronger tenant protections and real affordable housing, I have also spent the last 4 years trying to change the tax lien sale, the primary way our city collects and enforces city tax debt since Giuliani created it in 1996. Working with the Coalition to Abolish the Tax Lien Sale, we spent countless hours helping to create off-ramps for relief and ultimately save homeowners from displacement. Last session, we passed Local Law 82, which reformed the cruel way our tax lien sale accelerated foreclosures, particularly in the Black community. Even with this historic change, people were falling through the cracks. Fillmore Brown lost his home to foreclosure for just $5,000 in water debt. A constituent of mine, Mr. Lopez, was paralyzed by fear and confused about how to get out of debt until outreach workers, including my staff, repeatedly called him and pushed for him to get help. In December, we passed 4 bills to finally put a nail in the coffin of Giuliani's privatized debt collection system. Intros 570, 1407, 1419, and 1420 will once and for all end the system that has enabled the sale of tax liens to investor-backed trusts and better protect the Black and brown homeowners who feel like the city is abandoning them. I ask for your support on these bills. And just lastly, just to take a point of privilege, I just want to thank everyone who supported our good faith effort to pass COPA these last few months. And particularly, I'm especially grateful to members of the Progressive Caucus. Thank you for going to bat. At the heart of it, COPA is a modest strategic intervention in our housing crisis, and we are losing our working class New Yorkers while faceless LLCs and private equity investors are scooping up our buildings and our neighborhoods and flipping them for profit. That is a fact. COPA is good policy. Our government should be intervening in every way.
And I thank item on the general orders
thank you,
calendar.
Majority Leader. I'm looking forward to working with all of you, introduce it, and get it done.
Public Advocate Jamani Williams, followed by Council Member Brooks Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. I want to thank Speaker Menon, Chair Epstein, and members of the Committee on Consumer and Worker Protection for your work on getting Intro 408 out of committee onto the Council floor to override with a bunch of bills that were overriding the veto by former Mayor Eric Adams and his parting gift to many of us. I definitely want to say on this record, I really, really like the sound of the word former. Last month, this council, together as a united body, got together with advocates and so many who were affected to address the reality of the stresses that New York City street vendors face, including substantial fines for operating without a requisite permit and necessary violence from enforcement officers, highly publicized ICE raids in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and now Minneapolis have instilled fear upon the members of New York's most iconic and renowned industry, street vending. Until recently, the number of available licenses to sell food and merchandising on a city sidewalk were capped for decades. Until the local law of 2018, one can spend decades on a waiting list hoping to get approved for license, and local law 18's increase in license was not sufficient to address this problem. I spoke to some vendors today. Just last week, all of their equipment, merchandise was taken in the middle of the night while they were sleeping right outside of this building. The legislation I have alongside Councilman Sanchez's and Councilman Ferreira's is designed to help establish a more supportive infrastructure for vendors. It will create a division of street vendor assistance within the Department of Small Business Services to provide this smallest of small businesses, primarily Black and brown and immigrant communities who need protection and ability to have some kind of recourse and some guidance. So I thank this council for the leadership and looking forward to the override of this and many other bills. And thank you to our street vendors who feed us, who clothe us, provide so many services in some of the most affordable ways in a time when we are talking about affordability. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Public Advocate. We'll now turn it over to Councilmember Brooks Powers, followed by Councilmember Ressler.
Thank you. Colleagues, today's override vote is a reaffirmation of who we are as a council. Intro 1297 exists because survivors were told incorrectly that the law meant to protect them no longer apply, because an appellate ruling introduced confusion, and because a veto threatened to shut the courthouse doors altogether. This legislation restores what was always intended, a gender-motivated violence act that is clear, enforceable, and durable. A law that allows survivors to pursue accountability, not just from abusers, but from the institutions that enabled harm or failed to act. Our vote today makes something else clear as well. When survivors' rights are at risk, this council does not hesitate. We do not look away, and we do not allow legal loopholes to replace justice. This override is necessary, it is principled, and it is the right thing to do. Thank you, Speaker Menon, for your leadership, and I urge my colleagues to support this veto override. I'd also like to thank my Deputy Chief of Staff, Julian Martin, for his tremendous work and labor of love on this piece of legislation. Thank you.
Councilmember Ressler, followed by Councilmember Gutierrez.
Thank you very much, Majority Leader. And I want to commend my colleagues and this council for overturning 17 vetoes today. That's more vetoes that have been overturned in the last 12 years combined. Former Mayor, thankfully, Eric Adams, went on a veto spree at the end of his term in his very final hours at City Hall. But I'd be remiss to not say that I'm disappointed that we are failing to override 2 vetoes in particular relating
Councilmember, sorry, you have to be speaking on matters regarding to the general orders calendar. COPA
it should have been
and
on the
CCRB
agenda
is not on the
today.
general orders calendar.
But this is our opportunity to override the veto.
Councilmember, you
Okay,
have to
I
stick to
will
the general
come
orders
back.
calendar. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Gutierrez.
Oh, man. Okay, thank you so much, Majority Leader. I want to take this time to uplift my colleagues and our speaker who worked so incredibly hard last session to pass important legislation. I also just want to shout out the entire LEG team, many of who are still here and who really threw down at that last month and have been throwing down. So just want to acknowledge the work that it has taken to even do the overrides today. It's unfortunate that we have to spend as much energy as we are, but I just want to uplift Council Members Brooke Powers for her survivors bill, Councilmember Krishnan for his deactivation bill, Councilmember Irina Sanchez on her vendors bill, and of course Councilmember Durst on her tax lien sale, and want to express my same sentiment about hoping to get to a good place with COPA down the line. And before you cut me off, that's it. I'm going to say I just want to uplift my council members, my colleagues, and the speaker for doing this extra work to override these important and necessary bills to protect workers and survivors. Thank you. Yeah.
Councilmember De La Rosa.
I'll explain my vote later. Thank you.
Seeing no one else signed up to speak, report of special committees.
None.
Report of standing committees.
Report of the Committee on Consumer and Worker Protection, intros 408A, 431B, 1251A, 1391A, and their accompanying mayoral vetoes M5, M6, M12, and M15.
The vetoes will be filed and the bills coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Contracts, intro 479A, and M7, its mayoral veto.
M7 will be filed and the bill coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Finance, intros 570B, 1407A, 1419A, and 1420A, and their corresponding mayoral vetoes M8, M16, M18, and M19.
The vetoes will be filed and the bills coupled on general orders.
Preconsidered Resolution 34, Penn South.
Coupled.
Report of the Committee on Housing and Buildings, intro 1120B and M11, its mayoral veto.
M11 will be filed and the bill coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Immigration, intro 1412A and M17, its mayoral veto.
M17 will be filed and the bill coupled.
Report of the Committee on Land Use, intros 958A and 1443A and their mayoral vetoes, M10 and M21.
The vetoes will be filed and all bills coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Public Safety, intro 125A and M3, its mayoral veto.
M3 will be filed and the bill coupled.
Report of the Committee on Rules, Privileges, Election Standards, and Ethics, preconsidered resolutions 144 and 145, committee changes.
Coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management, intro 1279B and M13, its corresponding mayoral veto.
M13 will be filed and the bill coupled.
Report of the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure, intro 276A and M4, its corresponding veto.
M4 will be filed and the bill coupled.
Report of the Committee on Women and Gender Equity, intro 1297A and M14, its mayoral veto.
M14 will be filed and the bill coupled on general orders.
Resolution appointing various persons, Commissioner of Deeds.
Coupled on general orders.
Councilmember Krishnan, I failed to recognize you earlier. You may have 2 minutes to speak on general orders.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. I appreciate it very much. Today is a historic day under the leadership of Speaker Menon, where we are overriding a record number of vetoes, marking a sharp departure from a very troubling chapter in our city's history when it came to the last mayor and his administration. Today we are taking on Uber, Lyft, and corporate corruption. In the last hours of Eric Adams' term, one that was rife with corruption and selling out our city, his legacy was further tarnished by his last-minute attempt to betray 100,000 workers, Uber and Lyft drivers, many of whom are immigrants in our city. Today, we are righting that wrong and overturning his anti-immigrant and anti-worker veto. My legislation to end unfair firings of Uber and Lyft drivers is the largest due process protection for these workers in the nation. As we stand here today, I know the nation is watching New York City. When drivers see the New York City Council override this veto, they will look to their state legislatures and city councils across the country to pass the same protections for them. These past 2 years, Uber and Lyft drivers have been scared, knowing that this bill, Uber and Lyft have been scared, knowing that this bill has the ingredients to start a drivers' rights movement. They've used their billion-dollar war chest to spread fear and false information to New Yorkers because that is the only thing they know how to do, waste money and make people afraid. The stance we are taking today will make our nation better and bring more rights to the workers who make our city run. Our drivers are often the first people we meet in the city, taking us from the airport to our homes, bringing us to a new Broadway show, or simply helping us get up from one part of the city to the next safely. They are workers who, because of our winter storm this weekend, lost critical hours to earn money to pay rent next month. We all know how essential and unrecognized drivers are. Drivers deserve dignity and fundamental rights, notice, due process, and a chance to appeal when they've been wrongfully fired. Today, we will deliver those rights. I'm thankful to my staff, Chanel Martinez, Victoria Opperman, Hunter Divina Gracia, Greg Clark, to our Legislative Counsel, Mark Chen, for where we've gotten today, and to our Speaker, Julie Menin. Driver power, union power.
Thank you,
everybody.
Councilmember. Before we move into the vote on general orders, we will now consider the bills vetoed by former Mayor Adams. These bills are introductory numbers 125A, 276A, 408A, 431B, 479A, 570B, 958A, 1120B, 1251A, 1297A, 1279B, 1391A, 1407A, 1412A, 1419A, 1420A, 1443A. The question before the council now is, shall these bills pass? The objections of the mayor notwithstanding.
Thank you. I'll now call on the clerk to conduct a roll call vote only on the bills that were vetoed by former Mayor Adams.
Aldebol.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Colleagues, today I proudly vote to override all these vetoes. 17 is amazing. But I especially want to speak on the Intro 1391A. I'm especially proud to override this veto. This is a bill about public safety, dignity, and basic fairness. Before I came to City Council, as many of you know, I was an organizer and leader within 32BJ. I walked picket lines with security officers. I know many of them and their families, and I certainly know the risks that they take every single day. These workers are on the front lines of almost every type of emergency, and often before other first responders arrive. Yet too many are paid poverty wages, lack health care, and are forced to cycle in and out of jobs in order to survive. New York City's private security industry has over a 70% turnover rate. That is not just bad for workers, it is dangerous for all of us. The Alain Etienne Safety and Security Act begins to address this, but there's way more work to be done. This sets citywide standards for wages, benefits, and paid time off for roughly 60,000 security officers, standards that already exist for officers working on city contracts. This bill doesn't reinvent the wheel. It simply says, if you protect New Yorkers, you deserve to live with dignity. This is a historic bill. It is necessary, and it will make us all safer. I proudly vote yes to override this veto and all the other vetoes. Thank you.
Ariola.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
I would just like to take a moment to wish another birthday boy, Peter Spencer, a happy birthday. We don't know what we would do without you, Peter. He oftentimes goes unnoticed, but he is definitely appreciated. On that, I am voting no on 125A, 276A, 431, 570, 1251, 1391, 1407, 1412, 1420, 1443, and aye on all the rest.
Aviles.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
So I am very proud to support my colleague Tiffany Caban in successfully overturning this veto around the Safer Sanctuary Act. The bill will strengthen our sanctuary city protection apparatus and make sure that no future mayor can bring ICE operations back onto Rikers Island to engage in well-documented illegal behavior. I also want to thank my colleague Pierina Sanchez for shepherding the street vendor reform package. It is the first time we are taking meaningful steps to try to address what is a very complex issue, but what is clearly important to New York City and to so many of our communities. I would also like to note on the issue of sanctuary city policies that what we are seeing across the country is escalating violence and attacks on the right to protest, and we are witnessing ICE murder US citizens, hurt families, and other individuals, and it is purely unacceptable. I am deeply disappointed that we did not vote on CCRB reform nor COPA. Thank you.
Banks.
Aye on all and happy to override these bills.
Botcher.
Aye.
Brewer.
Aye and all.
Brooks Powers.
I vote aye.
Caban.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Thank you. As the lead sponsor on Intro 1412, the Safer Sanctuary Act, I am proud to vote to override former Mayor Eric Adams' veto and urge, I'm happy that my colleagues are joining and urge the rest to do so. We're at a crossroads in the history of our country. The brutal assault on Minnesota is just the beginning, and it is our duty to protect our communities. And the Safer Sanctuary Act was designed precisely to protect New York City from the Trump administration's authoritarianism. This legislation introduces critical expansions to our existing sanctuary city framework. It extends New York sanctuary city limitations on local cooperation with federal immigration enforcement to include all agencies and laws being used by the Trump administration to threaten our communities. And this means that regardless of which agency is enacting the horrific Trump-Vance agenda, be it the FBI, the IRS, the U.S. Marshals, or DHS, our communities are covered by our sanctuary policies. And second, it bars any future mayor from reestablishing an ICE office in our jails, as former Mayor Eric Adams tried to do last year. And these are critical measures to protect our communities from an increasingly violent and authoritarian federal government. So overriding this veto will demonstrate that the City Council stands with the people of New York City, the people of Minneapolis, the people of the world. And it will demonstrate that as a body, we're striving to meet the moment. So in the memories of Renee Good, Alex Priddy, Keith Porter, Silvero Villegas Gonzalez, Jaime Alanis Garcia, and every person who has lost their life in ICE custody, we override this veto. I vote to override this veto. And I want to also note my disappointment as well that we will not be overriding the vetoes on COPA and the critical bill to give the CCRB direct access to officer body camera footage. And I urge my colleagues not to give up on these housing and safety issues, and I vote aye on all. Thank you.
De La Rosa.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Thank you. I want to thank Speaker Menon for swift action in overturning the vetoes by former Mayor Adams. Today, with these overrides, we're uplifting vendors. I want to thank my colleagues for their leadership. We're uplifting vendors, we're uplifting drivers, working class people, security guards, immigrants as we strengthen our sanctuary cities. And I am proud to vote in favor of this override. I also must say that I am disappointed that we will not be overriding Mayor Adams' veto on COPA today. But this is not and should not be the end of this conversation. With any great legislation comes resistance and also the need for modifications and amendments. And we will continue to support the prime sponsor, my colleague, Councilmember Nurse, who I believe did an amazing job trying to listen to all sides as we negotiated this meaningful piece of legislation. We owe it to tenants who have lived in dilapidated conditions for far too long to give them another tool for affordable housing preservation, and COPA is that tool. So I look forward to working with this council to make sure that we continue that conversation, and I vote aye on all. Thank you.
Dinowitz.
Aye on all.
Encarnacion.
Aye on all.
Epstein.
I'd like to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
I want to thank the speaker for today's historic moment of overriding 17 vetoes. Obviously, the mayor, on the eve of his leaving office, took a step to, I believe, harm vulnerable New Yorkers. Over 20,000 street vendors in the next few years will get small business because of our vote today. Nearly 100,000 app ride for hire vehicle drivers won't be arbitrarily deactivated. We're going to create opportunities to expand more affordable housing for over 1 million low-income New Yorkers. Further protect our city against ICE and terrorizing communities, not just in our city, but across our country. It's oversight of the NYPD, protecting victims of sexual assault and sexual violence, improving worker protections, and security guards who work across our city. I look forward to also working with the sponsors of the bills that we aren't moving forward today, to COPA, making sure that we have oversight of NYPD, and creating more larger affordable housing. This is stuff that we need to do in this city. New York is watching us today. People care what we decide. This is the moment to override these vetoes. This is what the city needs to do more forward. I want to thank the speaker again for her leadership, and I vote in the affirmative.
Farias.
I vote aye on all.
Felder.
I vote no on Intro 276, 1412, 1443A, 431B, and 1251.
Thank you. Feliz.
Permission to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
Proud to vote aye on all, including on the 17 bill overrides. I'm especially proud to vote to override vetoes related to street vendor reform. Great job, Councilmember Sanchez. And also the bill to protect Uber and Lyft drivers. Congratulations, Councilmember Krishnan. A few words on that bill. Drivers are some of our most essential workers. If you have an emergency, if you need to visit a family member, or need to get from point A to point B, in the cold, in the rain, in the snow, or even worse, in the middle of a blizzard, our drivers are always there for us, at all hours, always. Drivers are essential, but they're also vulnerable. They can be terminated for no reason, receive very little to no notice, and even worse, be provided with very little to no real system to contest accusations. This is unacceptable. They deserve better. So I'm proud to vote yes to override the 17 vetoes. With these 17 overrides, we're sending a crystal clear message that when it comes to protecting the lives and the hard work and the safety of New Yorkers, this City Council does not play any games. So I want to thank all my colleagues in the City Council. I especially want to thank our Speaker, Menon, for making this a priority and for making this historical day possible. Thank you so much. Yes and all.
Gennaro.
I vote aye on all, with the exception of 125A and 1412A, on which I vote no.
Thank you. Gutierrez.
Vote aye on all.
Hanif.
Permission to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
Thank you, and aye on all. Today's a historic day with one setback. The council failing to override the veto to support COPA is going to be a project that this council, I know, is committed to. At a time when corporate landlords and private equity firms are rapidly buying up our housing stock, this council must stand firm in protecting tenants and preserving affordability. COPA gives nonprofit organizations and tenants a meaningful opportunity to purchase their buildings when they go up for sale, keeping homes in community hands and preventing displacement before it happens. It's a common sense bill. It's moderate in scope, and it's been voted by this body before. We look forward to making COPA law this year and commit to a housing system that puts people before profit.
Hankerson.
In the strength of the legacy of my predecessor, former Speaker Adams, I vote aye on all, and I look forward to working with Councilor Nurse on the COPA bill in the future.
Hanks.
I vote aye.
Hudson.
Permission to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
Thank you. Today, I proudly vote aye to override former Mayor Adams' veto on 17 bills, including landmark legislation to strengthen job and safety standards for security personnel in honor of 32BJ member Alanda Tien, and a monumental package that would bring equity and justice for our street vendors, among many others. But what's most glaring is what is not on our agenda. This council has made a decision to cede its power to a former mayor, one embroiled in corruption and deeply unpopular with our constituents, by not voting to overturn vetoes on 3 bills this body passed just 1 month ago. After a November election in which our land use authority was weakened, we are telling the other side of City Hall that we will not stand firmly behind the legislation we pass, including common sense legislation to allow the agency that oversees the NYPD to access body cam footage, and a second bill that will protect tenants in dangerous buildings and help preserve affordable housing. Thank you, Councilmember Nurse, for your steadfast leadership on COPA. I look forward to working with you and Speaker Menon on a new version of COPA and the CCRB bill. Thank you.
Joseph.
Aye on all.
Krishnan.
Thank you to the New York Taxi Workers Alliance and all my colleagues, and I proudly vote aye.
Lee.
Aye on all.
Lewis.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. First, I proudly vote aye on the override. I want to thank Speaker Menon for her leadership. I wanted to quickly just highlight 2 bills that we are voting to pass today with the former mayor's vetoes notwithstanding. I am proud to stand with survivors, advocates, and my colleagues as we make the case once again for the passage of intros 1297 and 1120. It is absolutely unacceptable that the Gender Motivated Violence Act, which would address a looming crisis in our criminal justice system, continues to languish while countless survivors are left without a fair path to justice. The former mayor's veto was a deliberate attempt to silence both women and youth of their rights. We promised them. Passing this bill is about providing accountability and healing to survivors, and it is our responsibility to ensure that protections we enacted are preserved and strengthened. Additionally, Intro 1120 is an essential bill to address disparities in the way our cooperative apartments are bought and sold in this city. With a large number of co-ops in my own district, this is not an infringement on their rights, but a simple safeguard against discrimination and will truly provide a more inclusive pathway towards ownership for many New Yorkers. I want to thank Council Members Brooks Powers and Farias for advancing these pieces of legislation, and I vote aye on all. Thank you.
Maloney.
Aye.
Marte.
Aye on all.
Mealy.
May I explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Yes, I vote abstain on 431B, no on intro 570B, no on intro 12BA, no on intro 1407A, and no on intro 1420A, and aye on all the rest. And I just want to thank the Speaker for doing this override from the last mayors. And I just hope that I was against COPA, and I just would like to say this body needs to think before they take private owners' homes and give it to a nonprofit that this body, give them funding. So how could we give a private owner home to a nonprofit, then we're gonna give them the nonprofit money to help them build this house up? So I just hope that we keep that in mind. I'm looking forward to a great discussion, but I feel we have to keep our hands off of people's property. And I vote aye on all, and happy birthday, Peter, and to all my colleagues.
Is that aye on all or just the rest?
I said the ones that I was against, and aye on all the rest.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember, may you please restate your vote? Thank you.
I abstain on 431B, no on intro 570B, no on intro 1251A, no on intro 1407A, no on intro 1420A. And I vote
Thank you,
aye
Councilmember.
on the rest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morano.
Permission to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I wanted to briefly explain my no vote on Intro 1391A. Let me start by saying something that should not be controversial in this chamber. Security guards perform difficult, often dangerous work, and they deserve respect. They keep buildings safe, protect workers and customers, and are often the first people to deal with emergencies. Nothing in my vote should be read as dismissing that. But good intentions don't always make good law. And this bill would have the city step into a private industry and mandate wages, benefit, and enforcement regimes modeled on city contracts, even when the city is not the customer. That's a major expansion of municipal authority into a sector that's already heavily regulated at the state level. And that's where my first concern lies. New York State already licenses security guards and governs standards in this industry. When City Hall begins layering its own compensation systems on top of that, we run straight into questions about overlap, conflict, and litigation. I don't think workers are helped when we pass laws that may spend years tied up in court. Second, I worry about cost and where that cost ultimately lands. Building owners, small businesses, bids, nonprofits have told us plainly what they expect: higher security contracts, fewer posts, and in some cases, the elimination of guards altogether. I represent a working and middle-class district, and when costs go up, they don't vanish into thin air. They show up in higher rents, higher maintenance charges, and higher prices for customers. And while I admire optimism, I've been around long enough to know that when government mandates a new benefit package, someone writes that check. Lastly, I'm uneasy with turning the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection into a wage-setting and enforcement agency for an entire private industry. So for those reasons, I'm voting no on Intro 1391. I'm also voting no on Intro 125, 276, 431, 570, 1251, 1297, 1407, 1412, 1420, and 1443, and I on all the rest. Thank you.
Narcisse.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
It's so funny. That's what democracy is about. For me, I want to say thank you to Speaker Menon to bring it back, to vetoes all the mayors that trying to override all the vetoes that the mayor think that he was cute before he left office to put us to that. But I want to say thank you for doing all the bills. But one particular one, I want to thank my colleagues as we are taking an important step by overriding the mayoral veto to enact the Allen Etienne Act. This bill honors my constituent whose life was tragically taken in a mass shooting, and strengthen. This is what we call protection for private sector security officers by guaranteeing fair wages and basic benefits. We're not asking for a lot. We're not asking for millions of dollars. We're saying those folks that get out of their home every day to have a fair, something to take care of their family. And Paola, that I get to know personally, and the son that I had to take to school on the first day of school, and making sure, and thanks to Bishop Dillon and everyone that doing amazing work in the Catholic aspect, I was able to get scholarship for that young man for years to come until high school. So having said all that, I want to say thank you to my colleagues, and thank you to our speaker, Adrienne Adams, that look forward to put that. And I want to say thank you again to Speaker Menon for the pre-considered bills of, 5? For the cameras, to make sure our children, our folks that serving in our community, they're praying safe, and they don't have to worry about anything. So for all those vetoes, I will say aye on them. Thank you so much.
Nurse.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
I just wanted to take a moment to thank a number of people who worked on the tax lien package of bills. These ideas go back all the way to the days of Tish James in the City Council. The mantle was taken up by former Speaker Adrian Adams, and I was really grateful to work with many, many talented individuals. I just wanted to uplift Richard, Emra, Delaria from Council Finance, who are just smart, dedicated people, like 5,000 times smarter than me. Thank you to my team members, Ryan, who really held down that work in our office, and Patricia for helping to tell the story, and my district team, my small but mighty district team, who has spent hours supporting constituents through the tax lien process. And I also want to thank members of the coalition who are just relentless people, Take Root Justice, Nicely, the New Economy Project, Center for New York City Neighborhoods, the Coalition for Affordable Homes, Brooklyn Legal Services. There's a ton of folks out there. The work here will stop foreclosures and will help people keep their generational assets, so just wanted to thank them. I also want to thank Councilmember Brooks Powers for her work to get the Gender Motivated Violence Act over the finish line. Our city owes these survivors not only an apology, just as a basic level of respect, but real resources and care moving forward. I want to congratulate Council Members Caban and Sanchez on their incredible work to support our street vendors and fully keep ICE out of our city jails. And congratulations to the taxi workers who represent some of the best in our city and show up and provide solidarity across a number of fights. Obviously, I'm disappointed we do not override the CCRB veto. I do think that the CCRB needs to be empowered. It needs real attention, and I hope that this council this year can put real attention on this issue and work to help them out. So I vote aye. Thank you.
Osei.
Permission to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
I am proud that this council is voting to override 17 bills that the former very disappointing Mayor Eric Adams chose to veto. In that same breath, I am disappointed that COPA and the CCRB bill is not being voted to be overrided today, though I am hopeful in the future of getting these bills passed, because we only needed 34 votes to override both of these bills today, but in the future when they're introduced, we'll only need 26 to get them passed. So I'm looking forward to getting both of those bills passed alongside my colleagues in government. Thank you very much, and with that, I vote aye on all.
Thank you. Councilmember Marte.
Permission to vote on all items on the general calendar.
Yes.
Calendar. I vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Palladino.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Thank you. I want to explain why I'm going to vote against 431. This is about our vendors. Now, I have nothing against vendors at all. I just don't agree with it giving blanket coverage all over our city, because it punishes so many law-abiding small brick-and-mortar businesses that pay rent, taxes, and comply with strict rules while rewarding street vendors' expansion that undercuts them. Promises of better enforcement ring hollow when enforcement is already inconsistent and overwhelmed. Expanding permits before fixing enforcement, sanitation, and sidewalk crowding is reckless. Until the city can control what exists today, adding 1,000 more vendors is irresponsible, in my opinion, and harms the quality of life across New York City. Our small businesses are struggling terribly to keep their heads above water, and in my district, to see a vendor right out in front of a restaurant selling the same food he is inside just doesn't float well with me. And here are my votes, my no votes. Intro 570, Intro 1407, Intro 1420, Intro 125A, Intro 1391, Intro 431, Intro 1251, and aye on all the rest. Thank you.
Ressler.
Permission to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
Thank you so much, Majority Leader. I really do want to thank Speaker Menon and all of my colleagues today, and especially the bill sponsors, for overriding these 17 vetoes, for protecting some of the most vulnerable workers in our economy, like security guards, vendors, Uber and Lyft drivers. There are many really transformational bills that we are passing today, that we are overriding. Eric Adams' really poorly thought through vetoes. But I do wish that there were two additional bills that we were overriding, and that's the CCRB bill that would have ensured seamless sharing of information between the NYPD and the body-worn camera footage that officers gather every day with the CCRB, which is the entity that provides oversight when there are allegations of misconduct. I hope that we will bring that bill back as soon as possible, and I also hope that we will bring back the COPA bill. Speaker Menon has been clear that she's committed to working with the lead sponsor, Sandy Nurse, Councilmember Nurse, who did a phenomenal job in pushing this, and working with the law department and cleaning up technical issues. And I really hope that we'll get this bill back on the floor for a vote as soon as possible, because this is a critical preservation tool that we need. When we have bad landlords that are leaving buildings in disrepair and those buildings go up for sale, I welcome qualified nonprofits from our communities taking them over and preserving the affordable housing that we so desperately need. We're seeing private equity firms and speculators, bad landlords coming in and really causing harm in our communities. Folks like Greenbrook Partners and others are pushing out longtime neighbors in my district and in many districts across the city. And we need to protect these tenants. We need to preserve our affordable housing. And COPA is a critical tool to make that happen. So I really do look forward to working with the Speaker, Councilmember Nurse, and all of the members of this body to get COPA back to the floor as soon as possible, because we need it. Thank you so much.
Riley.
Aye.
Salam.
I vote aye on all.
Justin Sanchez.
Aye.
Farina Sanchez.
Permission to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
Thank you again to all colleagues for supporting vendors in your votes. Congratulations to all my colleagues overriding vetoes. Over the weekend, during the bitter cold that unfolded during the winter storm, yet another fire took yet another life in District 14. May she rest in peace. Thank you, Speaker Menon, for being on the ground with me. The building had over 100 open violations. The landlord is a known bad actor. And as a representative of a district with more deteriorating housing stock than most, and as chair of Housing and Buildings for the last 4 years, and thank you for the reappointment, Speaker, I can confidently say that we need more tools in our arsenal to preserve affordable housing against deterioration and over-speculation. I look forward to advancing COPA in this council and additional measures that give our city new tools to preserve and protect affordable housing. Thank you, Majority Leader. I vote aye on all.
Santos Suoso.
Permission to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
As a council staffer, one of the most painful things I had to do was inform people that they risked losing the homes they owed because they owed money to the city and were on the tax lien sale. This unfortunately included a good friend of mine who recently passed away from breast cancer and who spent her last several months while in chemo terrified that her home was going to be sold out from underneath her. Councilmember Nurse's tax lien bills and Councilmember Brewer's land bank bill put us on a new course, one that will offer people hope and stability. Instead of destroying people's livelihoods, we will instead strengthen communities who need it most. I commend them for the work they have done to get this over the finish line and pass the veto. And in that same spirit, I also want to take a moment to thank Councilmember Nurse, her team, and coalition partners for the tremendous work they did on COPA. The important goals of affordable housing preservation must be carried through. I look forward to working with my colleagues and to get this bill passed, particularly those of you who have been asking for amendments. Let's get this done. Let's not waste hard work, which is one of my least favorite things to do, and let's make it happen this year. I vote aye on all. Thank you.
Schulman.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Sandy Nurse. I was on the COPA bill for all the hard work she did and look forward to another iteration that is acceptable to everyone, and on that I vote aye on all.
Stevens.
I vote aye on all, but like everyone else and my other colleagues, very disappointed that we're not voting on CCRB and COPA. Hope Council we can figure out how to strengthen CCRB and get a COPA bill passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thomas Henry.
Aye.
On.
I don't know, except for 431B, which I abstain.
Vernikov.
Thank you. I and all except no on intro 125A, 276A, 431, 570, 1251, 1391, 1407, 1412, 1420, and 1443.
Thank you. Williams.
How about I know?
One.
I and all?
Wang.
Permission to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
Thank you. I believe the council made the right decision not to override the COPA veto, which in its present form is government overreach. My vote is, I vote yes on all except for intro 1251, intro 570, intro 1407, intro 1420, intro 1412, intro 1443, intro 431, and the occupying resos. Thank you.
Thank you. One moment. Zhuang.
Can I explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Thank you. I want to thank all my colleagues working so hard to override those bills. And also, I believe every single council member, every single person in New York City understand we need more housing. But taking the private ownership out is not the right solution. We should build more, and also we do everything reasonable under the Constitution to help our neighbors. And I vote aye on all. I will abstain Bill 631 and 1251. Thank you. And I'm very happy we did not bring the COPA come out to vote. Thank you.
Councilmember Zhuang, could you repeat your abstentions, please? There's no 631.
431.
Intro 431, and the other one was?
1251.
Thank you. Carr.
No on introductions 125A, 276A, 431B, 570B, 1251A, 1391A, 1407A, 1412A, 1420A, and 1443A, and aye on the rest.
Thank you. One moment. Councilmember Morano.
I'd like to change my vote on intro 1297 to abstain.
Thank you. Thank you. Abreu.
Aye.
Speaker Menon.
Aye and all.
The count will take about a few minutes. Please be patient. Please keep it down in the chambers. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Morano, vote change, please.
Yes, I misspoke on Intro 1297. I wanted to change my vote to a yes.
Please keep it down in the chambers. Thank you. Please keep it down in the chambers, please. Quiet in the chambers, please. Thank you very much. Quiet in the chambers.
Because I usually, whenever you're speaking, I try to be focused. And when other people are saying things, then I can't really control myself. I'm sorry. But we were in these seats. We were in these seats the first 2 years we were in the council. The both of us. We were behind Adrian. No, we're used to it. So we're very trained. When you're speaking, we're like this. And then every time it moves on, it moves on to everybody. This is better. This is tight system right here. Right? Remember we used to be crazy. You know what it was? Althea used to sit there. So when Althea was there, it was like she was distracting us and stuff.
All right. The vote is, quiet in the chambers, please. The vote is as follows. Intro 125A, 45 in the affirmative, 6 in the negative, 0 abstentions. Intro 276A, 46 in the affirmative, 5 in the negative, 0 abstentions. Intro 408A, 51 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 0 abstentions. Intro 431B, 41 in the affirmative, 7 in the negative, 3 abstentions. Intro 479A, 51 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 0 abstentions. Intro 570B, 44 in the affirmative, 7 in the negative, 0 abstentions. Intro 958A, 51 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 0 abstentions. Intro 1120B, 51 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 0 abstentions. Intro 1251A, 42 in the affirmative, 80 in the negative, 1 abstention. Intro 1279B, 51 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 0 abstentions. Intro 1297A, 51 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 0 abstentions. Intro 1391A, 46 in the affirmative, 5 in the negative, 0 abstentions. Intro 1407A, 44 in the affirmative, 7 in the negative, 0 abstentions. Intro 1412A, 45 in the affirmative, 6 in the negative, 0 abstentions. Intro 1419A, 51 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 0 abstentions. Intro 1420A, 44 in the affirmative, 7 in the negative, 0 abstentions. And finally, Intro 1443A, 45 in the affirmative, 6 in the negative, 0 abstentions. Madam Speaker, the City Council votes to override the mayor's vetoes with 2/3 voting in the affirmative.
Congratulations, colleagues.
Stay quiet in the chambers. Quiet in the chambers, or you'll be escorted. Please keep it down.
Okay.
Please.
Congratulations, colleagues. This is a momentous moment for the City Council. I'm now going to ask that the clerk take a roll call vote on the remaining items coupled on today's general orders calendar.
Narcisse.
I will vote aye on all the remaining items on the calendar. Thank you.
Nurse.
I vote aye.
Adebola.
I vote aye.
Ariola.
I vote aye.
Aviles.
Aye.
Banks.
Aye.
Botcher.
Aye.
Brewer.
Yes.
Brooks Powers.
I vote aye.
Caban.
Aye.
Thank you. De La Rosa.
Aye.
Dinowitz.
Aye.
Encarnacion.
Aye.
Epstein.
Yes.
Farias.
I vote aye.
Felder.
Aye.
Feliz.
C.
Gennaro.
Aye.
Gutierrez. Hanif.
Aye.
Hankerson.
Aye.
Hanks.
Aye.
Hudson.
Aye.
Thank you. Joseph.
Aye.
Krishnan.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Maloney.
Aye.
Mealy.
I vote aye and no on land use 3, 4, and 5.
Morano.
Aye.
Osei.
I vote aye.
Palladino.
Aye.
Wrestler.
Aye.
Riley.
Aye.
Salam.
Vote aye.
Justin Sanchez.
Aye.
Farina Sanchez.
Yes.
Santos Suoso.
Aye.
Schulman.
Aye.
Stevens.
I reluctantly wrote aye.
Thomas Henry.
Aye.
Ung.
Aye.
Vernikov.
Aye.
Williams.
I vote aye.
1.
Aye.
Thank you. Wang.
I vote aye.
Zhuang.
Aye.
Gutierrez.
Aye.
Thank you. Carr.
Aye.
Abreu.
Aye.
Speaker Menon.
Aye.
All items of today's general order calendar are adopted by a vote of 51 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions. Introduction and reading of bills.
All bills have been referred to committee as indicated on today's agenda.
There are no items on our resolution calendar, so we will now move into general discussion, beginning with Minority Leader Carr, followed by Brewer.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I want to begin by thanking and commending our Speaker for the early and aggressive action she has taken since getting elected earlier this month in the fight against anti-Semitism. I know this is a mission that is deeply personal to her, and over the last 22 days, she has certainly shown it from her 5-point agenda issued at the Museum of Jewish Heritage earlier this month, the legislative package being introduced today, and the Jewish Caucus's creation of the bipartisan task force against anti-Semitism. As the Speaker indicated in her remarks earlier, the data is deeply troubling, but these early efforts of her speakership give us all cause for hope, and that's desperately needed. And I'm particularly proud to see that this task force will be co-led by strong, powerful voices prompted by good hearts in the form of Minority Whip Vernikov and our Jewish Caucus Chair, Councilmember Dinowitz. And I look forward to the good work that they will be doing in the future. And I thank the Speaker once again for all of her support in this effort. Obviously, January is coming to an end and February is about to start, and that means it's budget season. I'm sure our Finance Division staff is thrilled to beginning anew the work coming for fiscal year 2027, but we are already starting to hear dire, grim news about the budget deficits we're facing. $2 billion for the current fiscal year, over $10.5 billion for the one coming, $12 billion hole that we need to figure out. And just yesterday, Mayor Mamdani has said that the only way out of this crisis is to raise taxes, and that he's not too worried that this may lead to an exodus of businesses. But there already is an exodus of businesses from our city. As recently reported in the New York Times, sometimes we in the Republican aisle read that, roughly 8,400 businesses closed in the second quarter of 2025, according to recent city data. That wiped away all of the post-pandemic gains we have seen, and then some. On top of that, the private market added just 18,500 jobs through November, down a startling 80% from the nearly 90,000 of the year before. We already have the highest combined tax burden of any city and a myriad of onerous and costly regulations that are keeping businesses afloat. Traditionally, the minority leader gets 5 minutes, majority leader.
Can we please give him an extra 3 minutes, please?
Thank you. Tax burden of any city and a myriad of onerous and costly regulations.
Excuse me, my apology. It's not during general discussion, it's only during general orders.
Okay, I'll wrap it up if I can. Thank you. So another
wrap it
tax
up,
increase is not the way out of this budget crisis. And so we should be trying to find ways to attract and keep businesses here in our city. And I urge my colleagues to look at that as well. Thank you.
I spoke to him yesterday, so.
Councilmember Brewer, followed by Vernick.
Thank you very much. I want to speak in terms of how wonderful interns are in our office. We have Phoebe Adler, who's here today. She's a student starting at Middlebury College. She's been an amazing person during the last semester here. I also want to thank James Liu, who is a Vann Fellow, and he is an extraordinary addition to our office. We appreciate the Vann program. Thank you very much, James. And Mohammed Limami, who is a Colin Powell Career Fellow at the City College, and that's a wonderful program. He comes originally from Senegal, and we really, really enjoy working with him. I love interns. Thank you very much.
Before we go to Councilman Vernikov, we'd like to issue a correction on a vote tally on Intro 1412A. It is actually 44 in the affirmative and 7 in the negative. Councilman Vernikov?
Thank you, Majority Leader. Jewish New Yorkers account for approximately 11% of New York City's population, yet make up approximately 57% of all hate crimes. As the Speaker mentioned, anti-Semitic incidents have become normalized and are a daily occurrence in our city. That is why I am grateful to Speaker Menon and the Jewish Caucus for creating a task force focusing on combating anti-Semitism. I am honored to be co-chairing this task force with Councilmember Eric Dinowitz, and I look forward to working side by side with the chair and the entire task force in a bipartisan fashion. This is a crisis that requires bold action beyond just condemnations, investigative oversight, and legislative solutions. As part of those efforts, I am proud to be a co-sponsor on Introduction 1 with Speaker Menon, which will establish a 100-foot perimeter around houses of worship so that worshipers can attend prayer services without fear of being harassed. And I'm also reintroducing my bill, Introduction 491, related to installation of panic buttons at houses of worship. Thank you, Speaker Menon, for your leadership and making combating anti-Semitism a priority of your speakership. I look forward to working side by side with the chair and the entire task force. Today, I am also reintroducing several other bills. Introduction 488, related to accountability and the Mitchell-Lama Veterans Housing Preference to make sure our veterans are receiving the housing opportunities they deserve. Introduction 492 will provide a discount for seniors at municipal parking lots, and Intro 489 will establish a database for towed vehicles aimed at saving New Yorkers time, money, and the hassle in locating their cars after they've been towed. Thank you.
Councilmember Joseph, followed by Banks.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Thank you. Today I speak not only as a council member, but as a daughter of Haitian immigrants. And as an immigrant myself, and as someone who's know firsthand what it means to build a life in this city while holding tightly to your roots. TPS is not just a policy, it is a promise. It is a promise that when a nation is facing extraordinary hardship, we will not turn our backs on the people who have already given us so much to our communities, our economy, and our shared future. For Haitians, TPS is a lifeline. Haiti continues to endure political instability, devastating natural disasters, and a humanitarian crisis that makes returning unsafe and unjust. Yet here in New York City, Haitian TPS holders are essential workers, educators, healthcare professionals, small business owners, caregivers, and parents. They are the backbone of our neighborhoods across Brooklyn and beyond. They pay taxes, raise families, worship, organize, and contribute every single day to the vitality of this city. Ending TPS would not only destabilize families, it would destabilize communities. It would force parents to live in fear, children to question their future, and workers to lose the very protection that allows them to contribute fully and openly to our society. That is not who we are as a city, and it should never be who we are as a nation. Preserving TPS is about dignity, it's about fairness, it is about recognizing the humanity of people who've already endured unimaginable hardship, yet still choose hope, resilience, and service. As a city built by immigrants, we must raise our voice to lead with moral clarity. We must raise our voice loudly, unapologetically, to demand that the federal government extend and strengthen TPS for Haitians, not temporarily, but with a pathway towards lasting stability. Our vision must be bigger than survival. It must be about opportunity. It must be about ensuring that Haitian families can plan for the future, invest in their communities, and know that they belong here without question or fear. As a proud Haitian American, I will always stand with the Haitian community. I will fight for policies that honor our contributions, protect our families, and reflect our shared values of compassion and justice. I'm wrapping up. Because protecting TPS is not just about protecting Haitians.
Thank you,
It's about protecting the soul of our city and the fundamental promise of
Councilmember,
America
your time is up,
itself.
Councilmember. Thank you. Pardon.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Banks, followed by Hanif.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. First, I want to take time to thank the Speaker for your amazing leadership. And I first want to reintroduce Intro 61. It focuses on a NYCHA residence. This bill requires that the city create a formal business directory for NYCHA tenant-owned businesses, coupled with a robust marketing campaign. Our NYCHA communities are full of talented entrepreneurs, and by giving them a platform and visibility, we are not just supporting small businesses, we are investing directly in the economic mobility of the public housing residents. I want to also reintroduce Intro 62, which addresses the hurdles faced by those seeking to serve our city. It mandates a study to assess the feasibility of a reimbursement program for civil service applicants who paid for exams but saw their eligible list number expire before receiving an offer. It is simply unfair to New Yorkers, many of whom are struggling already, to pay into a system that fails to provide them an opportunity. We must make the path to city employment more accessible. And Resolution 32 calls on Albany to support our children. We also calling for the state to set aside a portion of sports betting revenue, specifically to fund youth sports programs and to upgrade community infrastructure. Our kids deserve modern fields, safe gyms, accessible recreational programs, and it's time we leverage these new revenues to ensure every young person, regardless of their zip code, has a chance to play and thrive. I want to thank all my co-sponsors and co-prime sponsors and sponsors who sponsored these bills. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Hanif, followed by Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I wanted to speak about a few of my bills that are being introduced today that I urge my colleagues to support. First, Intro 171, Ban the Scan, protects New Yorkers from invasive surveillance by prohibiting the use of biometric recognition technology in places of public accommodation and safeguarding sensitive biometric data. Intro 169, a fertility access awareness bill, ensures New Yorkers can easily access clear, accurate information about fertility treatment options and insurance coverage so they can make informed decisions about their reproductive health. Intro 172, a parks accessibility bill, strengthens accountability by requiring annual reporting on parks' compliance with ADA accessibility standards so our public spaces are truly usable by everyone. Intro 168, a bike safety bill that I have introduced on behalf of the Park Slope Civic Council, improves safety for everyone on our streets by requiring micromobility share companies to clearly display rules of the road for safe operation. And finally, Intro 157, the Trust Act, creates a private right of action to enforce our sanctuary city laws, protecting immigrant New Yorkers from unlawful detention and abuse. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Lee, followed by Botcher.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker, Majority Leader, and colleagues. It is my honor to introduce legislation to strengthen the city's capacity to deliver early childhood education services for our youngest New Yorkers. Currently, many of the CBO pre-K programs are experiencing significant staffing challenges because certified teachers and classroom staff receive lower pay and less comprehensive benefits than similarly situated DOE employees. As dependable staff leave these programs, classrooms become more difficult to staff, providers struggle to retain enrolled seats, and the city's broader effort to realize its vision for accessible, high-quality childcare and early learning become harder to achieve. My legislation, Intro 281, would require DOE pre-K contracts to provide pay and benefits comparable to DOE positions for covered classroom staff in equivalent roles, enabling providers to retain qualified staff without being required to absorb additional costs. This measure represents a straightforward and targeted retention strategy that supports stable and reliable pre-K services for working families, including families whose children require consistent educational support. The legislation also reflects years of advocacy by organizations such as Daycare Council New York, Citizens Committee for Children of New York, and Advocates for Children of New York, along with partners across the early childhood and disability communities. I hope that you join me all in this effort. Thank you.
Councilmember Bottcher, followed by Morano.
So today I'm saying goodbye to two staff members of mine who are moving on to other pastures. My legislative and budget director, Maricela Cano, is moving on to be Ty Hankerson's chief of staff. So great job, Ty, Maricela. Thank you so much for all the great work you've done in our office. And my chief of staff, my longtime chief of staff, my right hand, Carl Wilson, is moving on. Carl, I want to thank you so much for everything you've done. We've been through so much together, so major rezonings, many things we've worked through in the district, so much legislation. Carl was my appointee to chair the Casino Community Advisory Committee. And the thing about chiefs of staff is you really have to actually like your chiefs of staff because you talk to them all day long. And Carl's sense of humor has really kept me afloat during many of the issues that we've worked on. So Carl, thank you so much for your service to our district, to the people of New York, and you've got a bright future ahead, and we've been so lucky to have you, and good luck on your future endeavors.
Councilmember Morano, followed by Pierina Sanchez.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Today, like a lot of you, I reintroduced a number of bills that I'm very proud of, and I hope my colleagues will take a close look at all of them in the days ahead. But I want to briefly focus on one in particular because of its urgency and because of the thoughtful discussion it just received this week in the Health Committee under the leadership of Chair Schulman, and that's Intro 323. This legislation would provide paid leave for city employees who step forward to donate bone marrow or a living organ, and it would establish an official city honor roll to recognize those extraordinary acts of service. These are not abstract policy questions. These are New Yorkers who volunteer to undergo painful medical procedures so that someone else can live. Sometimes it's a family member, sometimes it's a complete stranger. Either way, this is civic heroism in its purest form. No city employee should have to weigh saving a life against losing a paycheck. Now, the administration has suggested that the council may lack authority because paid leave is traditionally a subject of collective bargaining. I respectfully and totally disagree. This bill doesn't alter wages, titles, or work rules across the workforce. It sets a narrowly tailored humanitarian minimum for a rare and extraordinary circumstance, one that aligns with public health goals, saves lives, and ultimately reduces long-term medical costs borne by the public. We already legislate baseline employment standards when there is a compelling public interest. We do it for family leave, we do it for workplace safety, we do it for health protections. Ensuring that a city worker is not financially penalized for donating an organ fits squarely within that tradition. Collective bargaining can and should build on that floor, but the existence of labor contracts shouldn't prevent this body from saying clearly and unanimously that life-saving generosity deserves protection and recognition. So I hope you'll look at 323. Thank you.
Councilmember Ressler, followed by Mealy.
Thank you so much, Majority Leader. and I am very pleased to reintroduce today legislation to create the Department of Community Safety. We ask the NYPD to deal with every single issue under the sun, many of which they don't have the training for and distracts from their core work. We've seen NYPD response times go up by nearly 40% during the Eric Adams tenure to the most serious and violent crimes. We need the NYPD to be focused, laser focused on preventing and solving violent crime, and we need to deploy social workers, mental health professionals, and other experts to reduce and prevent violent incidents and address quality of life issues across our community. I am very pleased that 23 of my colleagues have co-prime sponsored this legislation, and I'm hopeful that many others will sponsor the legislation with me as well today. This legislation was, of course, a major priority for the mayor on his campaign, but I actually campaigned on a similar idea 4 years ago, and it's long overdue that we invest in high-quality, real-time response that can provide tangible solutions, connections to quality services, treatment, housing for the New Yorkers who desperately need it, and I'm hopeful we'll be able to get this bill moving as quickly as possible. Thank you.
I don't see Councilmember Mealy, so I'll move on to Councilmember Dinowitz, followed by Justin Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. Because I want to thank the Speaker and my colleagues, I think, who recognize anti-Semitism for the scourge that it is on our society. And we often look at the data. Anti-Semitic hate crimes make up more than every other group combined. But for so many of us in the Jewish community, that the feelings of anti-Semitism go beyond what the data show us. Like the students I've spoken to who want to take their yarmulkes off before going into class or not go to school at all, the young girls who don't want to wear their Star of David, and my family's not immune from it. My wife and I were attending an event at our shul just a couple weeks ago, and she had pause about going to it for fear of being intimidated, harassed, or God forbid, something happening like that happened in Councilmember Hudson's district at 770 in Chabad. And so I'm grateful today that along with Councilmember Vernikoff, we were elected by the Jewish Caucus as co-chairs of the task force to combat anti-Semitism. Going beyond just words of condemnation or words of discouragement for anti-Semitic words or behavior, but importantly, not just about things we're going to do, but things we are doing now, and that's the package of legislation that Speaker Menon has already spoken about. Making sure there are safe perimeters around our schools and around our houses of worship so our kids are safe, making sure that the status of hate crimes, not just whether someone was arrested or not, but the status of where it is in the process, is publicly reported so people know that they can walk around their neighborhoods safely. And I'm proud to co-sponsor legislation with Councilmember Maloney about providing support to our houses of worship. And I encourage my colleagues to sign on to this entire package of legislation that will not only keep our Jewish brothers and sisters safe, but our entire city safe from hate crimes. Thank you.
Quiet in the chambers, please. Thank you. Councilmember Justin Sanchez, and Maloney is my last speaker.
First and foremost, I want to thank Speaker Menon and to my colleagues on the council from the 17th Council District. 17 looks really good on you. Moving on, wow, no laughs. Okay. We're tired. Well, as the chair of the Sanitation and Solid Waste Management Committee, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the hard work by all of our crews throughout the city that have been working around the clock to keep New York running through over a foot of snowfall since this past week. You know, while our kids were outside playing and we're playing in Central Park and families are at home and folks like my comms director were very excited about the Patriots advancing to another Super Bowl. I was not as happy. Our snowplow drivers and our salt spreaders were hard at work, clearing our streets, salting our roads. Post-snowfall, they've continued to work in collaboration with our other agencies, with our bids, clearing our sidewalks, our bike lanes, other pedestrian right-of-ways. Now, I know looking at the snow on the ground, and no thanks to Mother Nature, there is still a lot more work to do, but I really want to just commend them for the work that they have done so far, taking a moment to acknowledge all of them and the work that they continue to do. And just a reminder to all of my colleagues, we will be having oversight hearings on the snow coming up in February. I know there's been a lot of discussion. I look forward to partnering with all of you and your committees to make sure that we are showing New Yorkers that we know how to clean the streets. Thank you, everyone.
Councilmember Maloney.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Speaker Menon, for your focus on addressing anti-Semitism with these package of bills. I am co-sponsoring with Councilmember Dinowitz Intro 297, my first bill, in the immediate aftermath of a deeply disturbing incident here in New York City where a vehicle was deliberately rammed into the Chabad World Headquarters in Brooklyn. While no one was injured, the intent is unmistakable and the threat is real. This bill is not about one incident or one community. It reflects a troubling reality of our time, that religious institutions here in New York City and around the world are increasingly exposed to danger in an era of anger, misinformation, and division. Too often, synagogues, churches, mosques, and temples have become symbols of conflict rather than sanctuaries for peace. Houses of worship are places where people go to gather in trust, to reflect, to pray, to seek meaning, and to be together. And they should not be left to navigate emergency preparedness in isolation or without support. This legislation ensures that religious institutions can access support to develop emergency plans so that when the unthinkable happens, there is clarity, coordination, and protection of life. Preparedness is not an act of fear. It reflects our responsibility to one another. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Seeing no one else signed up for general discussion, I'll now call on Speaker Julie Menon to close today's stated meeting.
Thank you. The stated meeting of January 29th, 2026 is hereby adjourned. Thank you.